All right, good morning, everyone. Right now, we're going to just go through a few housekeeping matters before we continue. So we'd like to say that turning on your video is encouraged. If you can, please do. We are also asking you to choose a quiet location, especially for those of you who will be asking questions. We have asked you to drop your questions for the panel into the chat box during their presentations because we will have a designated Q&A session. And in order to be chosen to speak, we are asking you to utilize the raised hand button, which will be close to your chat box to notify us that you'd like to speak during the Q&A session. So without further ado, I'm gonna hand over to PM Stephen for our activity session. Stephen?
Hi, good morning, everyone. So for today's activity, I'm going to need 2 volunteers. Would anyone like to volunteer?
I will volunteer.
I would volunteer.
All right, could you, if you're volunteering, I would like you to put your full name into the group chat for me, please. All right. So our first person is Rashida Prescott. All right, so what our activity is it's all about your digital footprint. So what Jamar is doing is that he's Googling Rashida to see, according to Google, what's her digital presence. Well, off the bat, you can see that she's right there. Apparently, she's a criminal defense lawyer. No. And she's in the time of MySpace. All right, I need one more person. Someone who's confident that they don't have a digital presence, maybe? All right, Siobhan Grimm. All right, so first thing, we can see that Siobhan is a scholar. And apparently she sells insurance. You got a picture of her with an award? Yeah. Wait, Siobhan, did you actually go to Jamaica?
No, I didn't.
Oh. All right. Thank you very much for participating. The proceedings of today are about your digital footprint and how it's affected.
All right. Thank you so much, PM Stephen. Now I'm going to introduce our PM, Dominique, who will tell you a little bit about our first panelist. So, Dominique?
Hi, thanks, Tanya. Holding firm to the belief that people should be led with the heart first, Julie Turney is an HR professional with over 15 years of experience in human resources. Julie is a true people champion with a determination to be intentional in every connection she makes. She is the founder and CEO of HR at Heart Consulting, Inc., a boutique firm offering HR for HR support services. She is the lead organizer of Disrupt HR Caribbean, host of the HR Sound Off podcast show, and author of the upcoming book, Confessions of an HR Pro, Stories of Defeat and Triumph. I'll now hand over to Miss Julie Turney.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you're having a great Saturday so far. So my task this morning is to present to you on the topic of how to leverage LinkedIn to build relationships, test your ideas, and become a thought leader. So I am going to attempt to share my presentation. Here we go. So when I start to share my screen and go into presentation mode, I'm not going to be able to see your comments until after the presentation. How many of you right now answering the comments are on LinkedIn? Just on LinkedIn, you've registered, there's a picture, you have some information there. How many of you? Great. Now, how many of you are active users of LinkedIn right now, as in you like, comment, share on posts, you support posts, or you post your own content? How many of you do that? Okay, so that's going to come in handy as we go through the presentation. The power of connection. I'm going to start my timer. So all over the world, people are connected on social media. Most people use social media just to share information about themselves, but a lot of people use social media from a business perspective. And LinkedIn is the biggest real estate right now where people can connect for business to gain insights on any particular thing that they want to talk about, or to be seen as a thought leader, or to be hired. So just a little data on LinkedIn. Right now, as of yesterday, LinkedIn has over 660 million users worldwide. 18 million of those users are HR professionals. So for you job seekers, that's very important to know. 90 million of those users on LinkedIn are senior level influencers, meaning they have the power to make decisions to hire or purchase goods and services based on what they're seeing on LinkedIn. And 75% of users on LinkedIn use it to make career decisions. In other words, they're using it to find jobs or they're using it to hire people. Interesting stats. How do we fare as in Barbados versus the Caribbean? So right now, you can see a chart of who uses LinkedIn the most in the Caribbean. And Barbados is way down there at the bottom. As of September 30th, 2020, there are 102,400 users from Barbados on LinkedIn compared to Jamaica, Trinidad, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, etc. We are the lowest, one of the lowest ranking in the Caribbean right now for users of LinkedIn. LinkedIn is one of the most important pieces of software that you could be using right now to develop yourself in your career, to brand yourself as a thought leader, to brand yourself as a potential employee. And it is one of my biggest pet peeves when I talk to students, wherever I go, even adults, wherever I go across Barbados, talking about this platform. And I hear people say, I registered on LinkedIn since 2011, but I don't really use it. Or people say, I've never used it, don't know what it is, never heard of it. It completely baffles me, because LinkedIn is one of those places where you can set your brand apart as a potential employee or even as a business owner. So let's look at your LinkedIn profile at a glance. What is your LinkedIn profile made up of? It is made up of your photo, picture of you, professional picture of you, as well as your background. And the background usually is that banner right behind you that people have that usually has little bubbles. LinkedIn has changed their format recently, so now you're seeing a little bit of modern designs in the back of their profile. If you don't have your own picture or your own message. Then there's the about section. Who are you as an individual, as a human being? What contribution do you make to your organization, to the planet in general? What do you stand for? Then there's a featured section, which if you're posting content, you can then take some of the content that you have, where you've had the most views or you've had the most interaction on your content, and you can put them in the featured section so people can see those right away. There's the activity section, which talks about how many followers you have, the content that you're posting right now, and how many people have liked the content that you've posted or shared. Then there's the experience section, where you talk about the work experience that you have. Your education section, which is where you went to, how you were educated. Licenses and certifications, which is how are you keeping up to date with your profession. Your skills and endorsements, what skills have you learned and people who have endorsed you for those skills. Recommendations, which is people who have worked with you that can speak to your work ethic. Your accomplishments, what have you accomplished while you've worked where you've worked or while you've lived and existed, and any interest that you have. Now, if you look at your LinkedIn profile, not now, but maybe a little later, how much of these things are featured on your LinkedIn profile right now? So we did that little exercise before, where 2 people volunteered to give their information. So I took a quick look at Siobhan Graham and Rashida Prescott, and you have very little information about yourself on LinkedIn. So you're not fully utilizing all of these features of LinkedIn right now, and I would strongly recommend that you work on that. Why is it so important? Because LinkedIn, at the end of the day, is your digital resume. This is who you are. For me, as a recruiter in HR, and I recruit very heavily on LinkedIn, I headhunt a lot on LinkedIn. And when I go to people's LinkedIn profiles and I look at their physical resume versus what I see on LinkedIn, I see a huge disparity across every spectrum where candidates are concerned. And the candidate experience to me is very important. So your LinkedIn profile should marry your resume. Whatever you have on that document that you submit to say you're applying for a job, I should see all of that and more on your LinkedIn profile. So here are some tips that I think are very important for you to know about LinkedIn. That about section that we talked about before is very important. You should have a very robust bio that says who you are. What is your why? As in, why are you on this platform? What do you bring to the table? If I was going to employ you, what are some of the things that stand out that make you different from any other candidate that I've ever come into action with? Use gamification. Use the gamification option. So as you register on LinkedIn, it takes you through various steps. Every social media platform does it, and it's called gamification. They use this thing that says, okay, put your picture in. Okay, great. So you put your picture in. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Put in that bio. Great. Now, tell us where you've worked. Great. Now, tell us where you went to school. And all of those things are part of the gamification process on LinkedIn. As you fill those things in, LinkedIn then ranks you. Top rank is an all-star if you fill in all of that information. Get recommendations is my next tip. You're working with people all the time. If you're at university still, you have students who have worked with you in group projects. You have professors, lecturers who have worked with you, who can speak to your work ethic from a school setting. You're members of the Rotaract. And at some point in time, you have had some group interactions with various persons within the Rotaract. You're holding positions in the Rotaract, and all of these things you can get people to speak to in the recommendation section on your LinkedIn profile. Insert media links where possible. All of you at some point in time have probably been in the newspaper. You have some kind of social media presence where you've done something really awesome. You may have a video out there on YouTube. All of these are things that if you're really proud about them, you can put them on your LinkedIn profile. Now, here's another thing that I talk about a lot, which is very important. So as a recruiter, when I am looking at you on LinkedIn, one of the things that happens is if you're like me and you suffer from ADHD, you get very easily distracted when you're looking at candidates. And so one of the things that always comes up on the screen is if I'm looking at Rashida's profile and I want to hire an insurance agent, or an accountant or whatever the case may be, and I'm looking at a profile, there's something that comes up on the right-hand side of the screen that says, people who looked at Rashida's profile also looked at these people. You don't want me as a recruiter to get distracted looking at other people who may be better than you or have more experience than you do. You want me to focus on you. And so one of the ways that you can block that out on LinkedIn is to change the setting, how others see your profile and network information. And in your settings, you want to change that so that you don't want people to see anybody who has similar skills and experience to you. So that as recruiters, when we're looking at your profile, we can just focus on you. So if you are not making an active contribution on LinkedIn right now, here are some quick wins for you right now on LinkedIn to brand yourself and be known as a thought leader. You can like, share, and comment on content. Now, the LinkedIn experts, which I am not, I just know what I know because I've been on LinkedIn for a long time. I follow a lot of experts. One of the things that I see a lot is that people like content or they share content, but they don't share why they like the content. So I may see Siobhan share content, but all she's done is share a picture or share a post that belonged to someone else with no comments on it. LinkedIn doesn't like that. LinkedIn prefers that when you're sharing comments or sharing content, you at least say why you liked it. Even if it's just 2 words as to why you like this particular piece of content, better than just sharing the content outrightly that belongs to someone else. LinkedIn also now has a new icon that you can use, which is the support icon. So you can like, celebrate, love, insight, and feel curious about content, but now you can support content. And the support content actually is seen by LinkedIn higher in terms of their algorithm. And the more you support content and comment on content, the more LinkedIn puts you out there for other people to recognize you and connect with you. And also the comment section on LinkedIn, I say comments are like mini pieces of content. If you like people's content and you comment on it, LinkedIn then recognizes you more and will put more content in your direction based on the fact that you've commented on it. And comments are ways that you can be seen as a thought leader without having to overthink about how you're going to put content out there if that's a problem for you. Connecting on LinkedIn. There's a video that I'm going to share the link to at the end of this that I thought of as well. But when you're making connections on LinkedIn, you should connect with people who you see as thought leaders, people in your profession that you want to learn from, and also make sure that you're connecting with people who can add value to what you already know. So they're going to enhance your repertoire and skills. I'm in HR, so I'm always looking for people in the HR space to connect with. And when you're connecting with people, don't just click connect without telling people why you want to connect. There's a rule of thumb to connecting with people on LinkedIn, especially if you're connecting with people in your profession, people you want to learn from, or places you want to work. It's very important that when you're connecting with them, you say, hi, my name is Julie. I really love your content. And I thought that it would be great for us to connect so I can learn a little bit more about you. Generally, when people see that and then they go and look at your profile, they'll connect because LinkedIn is very polite that way. But then once people have connected with you, there are some other features that you can use to send messages to people. So when people connect with you, you can then go to the section that talks about messaging. And in that messaging section, you have the option to either type a message, send a video, or a voice note. People I personally love when I get a video message from someone or a voice note from someone versus someone just typing a message to me. I love it. And so do other people. So when you've connected with someone, then send them a nice video and say, hi, Jamar. Thank you so much for connecting with me today. I really appreciate that you took the time to reach out to me. If there's any way that I can be of service to you or share your services with anyone, or we can have a 5-minute coffee virtually on Zoom, I would appreciate it. Have an awesome weekend. People are going to love that. Trust me. Watch the algorithm. So I talked a little bit about the algorithm before. The algorithm is very important to pay attention to if you want to increase your presence on LinkedIn. And I mentioned a couple things about how you can impact the algorithm. If you comment on content, share content, and as you share content, the algorithm loves videos. So the more video content you share on LinkedIn, the better. But following all of these things, there's so much I could talk about on the algorithm. The algorithm is completely separate and distinct by itself. So I thought I'd share a couple ways for you to enhance your LinkedIn profile right now if you have not done that. If you are struggling with how to create that about section in your LinkedIn profile, one of the easiest ways you can do that is by going to resumeworded.com. And what they do is they give you some free templates on how to build your LinkedIn profile and that about section in particular. So you can go and get some free templates, get some ideas, get your creative juices flowing and use that. The next thing is linkalize.com. So what Linkalize does is it helps you to see what the dollar value is of your content. So if you are using LinkedIn for business or LinkedIn for thought leadership and to engage and get your services purchased and interact with business leaders, then Linkalize is a great way to do that. It will tell you what the dollar value is of your LinkedIn profile and the content that you're putting out there. So if you put your LinkedIn profile URL in that section and click on the evaluate, it will tell you what your content is worth in dollar value. That's really good for people like me who are using LinkedIn for business. The only thing with Linkalize I should add is that you can only do it once a month. SSI sales. So this tells you what your social selling index, what you are worth on LinkedIn, how you are seen in your particular field of work. So for me, HR, how I am ranked among other HR professionals globally in that LinkedIn space. Amongst the 18 million HR professionals on LinkedIn, I am in the top 14%. My network is in the top 8%. And then you'll see at the bottom, it looks at how you establish your professional brand, which I know needs work, finding the right people, engaging with insights, and building relationships. So this information here you can find if you just go to LinkedIn SSI. It will tell you what your social selling index is on LinkedIn right now. If it's below 74%, you know you need work. Photofila is a great application that you can use right now for free, where you can go and put in your picture. If you're not sure if the picture you have is professional enough, then you can use Photofila, where people all over the world will vote on your picture to tell you if you look competent, likable, and influential. And then based on that information, you can then post that picture to your LinkedIn profile. One of the things that I always tell people when it comes to your LinkedIn profile is completely different to your other social media. So it's completely different to Instagram, Facebook. You want to look professional on here. And for those of you who are UE graduates with your graduation photos on there, I'm asking you to take them down. Recruiters don't want to see that. And especially if you want to be seen from a global perspective, if you're short selling yourself on working in Barbados alone, but once you're on LinkedIn, the whole world is looking at you and you want to be seen as very professional. So no graduation pictures, no pictures at the beach, no pictures at fetes. You want to look very professional when you are seen on LinkedIn. And last but not least, I wanted to share my top 5 Caribbean professionals right now on LinkedIn that if you're not following them, you should follow to learn from. First up is Tiffany Jones. Tiffany Jones is from Barbados. She is the CEO of the Job Connect, and her LinkedIn profile truly is extremely professional, truly speaks to who she is as a professional recruiter and career strategist. So go follow Tiffany Jones. Next up is Terry Corral Reed, Dr. Terry Corral Reed. She is from Jamaica. She is a social media strategist with over 40,000 followers on LinkedIn right now. She drops gems every single day. And she also has a podcast. If you're not following Dr. Terry Corral Reed, I would strongly recommend that you do. Marjorie Wharton, she is from Barbados, a performance coach for leaders, and her LinkedIn profile clearly shows who she is. If you are not following Marjorie Wharton, I suggest that you do. She's also the host of LinkedIn Local Barbados, which also helps people who are connected on LinkedIn to learn to develop and grow their LinkedIn profiles. Jared Best Mitchell, he is out of Trinidad and Tobago, a LinkedIn coach, and he actually helps people build their LinkedIn profiles. Jared is awesome. I know him. I know all of these people personally, but their LinkedIn profiles, professional. If you're looking from a business perspective, how to build your LinkedIn profile, Jared Best Mitchell is the guy to go to. And last but not least, I wanted to share Tayon Seeley. Tayon is from Barbados. He is a young gentleman who I helped during lockdown. He was looking for work, looking to build his social media presence on LinkedIn, and he really has done a great job on growing from leaps and bounds over the last couple months as he's sought to build his LinkedIn profile. But he shared his personal experience with being jobless to then getting a job, and getting a job that he didn't even expect to get, and really has grown his presence on LinkedIn. So Tayon Seeley, great to follow. And I thought I'd finish with this quote. Sometimes the bravest, most important thing you can do is show up. Sometimes we get stuck in our head about content and we're like, I don't want to put this out there because people are going to laugh at it. People are going to criticize me. But on top of this saying, I want to add the saying that done is better than perfect. You want to be able to put content out there that you're not proud of initially, because you want to be able to see how you develop and grow your social media story, your journey. And as you grow that journey, the only way it's going to happen is if you share your content. Everyone is not for you and you are not for everyone, and that's completely okay. We looked and we saw 660 million people on LinkedIn right now. Someone is going to like your content. So if you're not sharing, if you haven't built your LinkedIn profile, please, I'm happy to assist you in any way that I can to build your LinkedIn profile and get it to where it needs to be so you can be seen as the thought leader that you are, or the professional that you are, to get that job that you really deserve. Are we connected? If we are not, you can find me on every social media platform listed at I am Julie Turney. My business is hr@heart.co. Disrupt HR Caribbean and HR Sound Off. You can find them all on LinkedIn and Instagram. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Julie. We're now gonna invite our next member, our next PM. Oh, my apologies. It is actually Rotor Saskia, Rotorata Saskia, to introduce our next panelist, Mr. Corey McLean.
Thank you, Tonya. Corey McLean builds brands from the ground up. For more than 10 years, he has been building businesses and working with startups and corporate clients throughout the Caribbean to optimize their business architecture and brand. He thinks about and speaks on all things entrepreneurship, lean startup, and brand building. Please join me in welcoming our second panelist, Mr. Corey McLean.
Good morning. So my name is Corey McLean. Good morning, everyone. And today I'm going to share my take on personal branding. I'm a brand architect. I've been building brands for over 10 years, as Saskia said. Thank you. And I have a few opinions, I say, on what is personal branding. So today we're going to talk about what is personal branding, how to build a personal brand, your personal brand online, and how to market yourself online, and networking. So I'm just going to build on top of the foundation that Julie started with. So first of all, understanding that your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. That's from Jeff Bezos. He's a pretty smart guy. Usually when we think of brands, we immediately go towards thinking of, you know, the big boys, the Coca-Colas, the Visas, the Amazons of the world. But personal branding is strategically marketing of an individual, a person, like you. And you want to think of yourself as the CEO of your own company, Me Inc. To be in business today, our most important job is to be head marketer for the brand called you. And in branding, we have this understanding that perception truly is reality. So it doesn't matter who you are or how good you are or what it is that you do, but what the audience, the people who are looking at you, what they perceive of you, that really is true, okay? Everyone has a brand, whether or not they know it. So if you don't build your brand, your audience, your market will create one for you because it is their perception of you. And while this sounds like you have no power and no say in it, we really do have quite a bit of power, because remember, we're talking about being strategic in this creation of a brand. So you have a brand, it's there already. But now that we understand this, we can make some strategic decisions. Personal branding is built on 3 pillars. 1, who are you? 2, your identity, which is what you look like, and visibility. So let's jump right into it. Who are you? We're talking about what are you good at? What it is that you do? Who do you do it for? What is the value that you create for them? So understanding that, we have a foundation from which to start from. This is where we're going to begin. It's a lot easier to build a brand if you are an expert in one thing. You may be a jack of all trades. You might be good at several things, but if you're an expert, it's much easier, much more potent to create that brand. Because the idea is that it's based on the concept of singularity, meaning in the minds of your prospect, your audience, your customer, your friends, people that you know, there's no product, no service, no one who is quite like you, who can do what it is that you do as well as you can. Identity is where we talk about everything that's visual, memorable, and discoverable about yourself. And if you've ever played a video game, you're familiar with this part of the gaming experience where you choose an avatar. Basically, you choose your character, what your character looks like, their powers, their skills, their abilities, their weapons, their clothes, Sometimes, and you want to think of your character, your personality, your avatar in the same exact way. So you want to ask yourself a few questions. How does this person dress? And what colors represent them? So for me, I take a more of a relaxed professional approach to my brand. So I tend to wear maybe a polo shirt or a button-up shirt, but when I wear a button-up shirt, my sleeves are generally rolled. Oh look, my sleeves are rolled right now. And when people see me, that is the look that I want them to get, because I want to be a professional guy, but I'm approachable. What colors represent them? When I'm working, I generally wear black. But in my online space, my colors are usually yellow. Why? Because black, it makes life easy. It allows me to concentrate on what I'm doing and not have to worry about, what I'm gonna wear. The yellow, that is that shows that I take a slightly different approach to everything, right? I don't take myself super seriously. So I like to use to mix that with some colors. Purple today, it works for the environment that we're in. I like the Rotaract vibe that they were going with, so I'm going with purple today. All right, let's me to start my video. Okay, can't see it. Sure, start my video. All right, so next, after you go through all this effort, sometimes it results in you going to work wearing a giant mouse head. This is Dead Mouse. He's an EDM DJ, and he literally goes to work every day dressing like this. He wears a giant mouse head to go on stage, and it works for him because it shows his audience who he is. It shows that he obviously doesn't take himself very seriously. He's different to all the other DJs that we know, and he is a little edgy. So I'm not going to ask you to wear a giant mouse head, but the question is, what is it that you are doing? What is it that you want to represent? And how can you translate that into how you dress? So we talked about who you are, we talked about how you look. And on the other part of your identity is so there's your visual identity, which we talked about just now, and then there is your I guess your verbal identity. So the way that you speak, the way that you communicate. And so using me as an example again, generally, I am fairly, I guess, I use standard English. I try to pride myself on speaking well. But again, remember, I want to be approachable, right? So I try to have a tone that says, hey, I'm your friend. Let me not stand here and impart knowledge on you. Let's have a conversation. I want to be open. And to do that, sometimes I toss in some slang, I toss in some pop culture references, and I generally want that to be the vibe that you get off of me. Same thing with you. What is the vibe? What is the environment? What is the value that you're creating? What space do you inhabit? And what type of language works in that space? So like I told you how I work, right? How I try to talk. I have a good buddy, well, some friends of mine, DJ Simmons and his wife, Keisha. I never remember to call her Keisha because I know her as Empress Zinga. So DJ Simmons and Empress Zinga, they run a magazine called Gain On Magazine, a website, gainon.com. And people who have a business that literally ask the question, what going on? For them to speak perfect English would not match. So they speak in nice but rank Beijing. The idea is they're spotlighting and highlighting the best that is Beijing culture. So it would be, I guess, counterproductive for them to speak in perfect, spotless English when they could just, talk Beijing. because what going on, right? So the same thing with you. You want to consciously think of what it is that you're doing and what matches that. So the way that I dress matches the person that I want to project onto the world. The way that I speak matches the person I want to project onto the world. Because again, I'm being strategic in all of these little components that come together. Visibility now is where you're seen. So who sees you? Where do they see you? Are you writing a blog? Do you write articles for the local newspaper? Are you on social media? Which social media? Julie brought up one of the most powerful tools that we have, which is LinkedIn. And I'm going to touch on LinkedIn again a little bit later, not as deeply as Julie did. Are you at networking events in real life or online? So what type of networking events? What kind of spaces do you go to? Me, if you know me, if you've ever seen me online anywhere, you know that I spend a lot of time in a coffee shop. It's just who I am, right? One, because I like coffee, but two, I'm a social type of person. I prefer to be in a casual space where I can meet a myriad of people. I've met every possible type of person either in a coffee shop or in a gym. And that's just how it works for me. Sometimes I'll go to traditional networking events, but my thing is, for me, being visible in these different types of spaces allows people to see me when I'm not trying to get something from them. It allows them to connect with me person to person. So what's the point? Why is personal branding important? Simply, personal branding allows you to stand out from the crowd, from your competitors. It sets you apart and allows people to understand you as a person, as a brand. There are a couple keys to doing this right. Consistency. You want to do the same things all the time. So if tomorrow you saw me wearing a suit, it might mesh, but for other people, so for me it might work because I mean I look good in a suit, but it doesn't work with my brand. If I showed up at a presentation, I'm doing a workshop and I'm wearing a three-piece suit with wingtip shoes, I'm gonna look a little bit off. Now try that on for size with somebody else. So locally there is Raphael Sol. Raphael presents always in a suit. That's his brand. It's not my brand. So if Raphael and I were at the same event, it's likely he's wearing a suit and my sleeves are rolled because that's who we are as people. So you want to do the same things all the time. And persistence means that this isn't something that you do today. Like you have to keep doing this. You have to keep being who you claim to be. So I'm always approachable. I'm always, I guess that cool guy, right? Who are these people that are drinking more tea than coffee? Like, guys, get your lives together. But and then you have to be patient. Building a brand takes time. It's not something that will happen today. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It might not happen next week. But you have to consistently put the pieces together. I use the analogy of building a wall. And you lay one brick at a time, over time, consistently, and then eventually there will come a point where you reach a tipping point and you are known for that thing. So networking. So what is a network? It's a connected community of professionals with related business interests. Okay. There are a couple of advantages to networking, and this is online and offline. There's career development. You can find new clients or jobs, mentoring opportunities exist, and building relationships with people. So again, see that wall? So let's take it offline for a hot second. So let's say that you're at a physical networking event or you're in a coffee shop and you come across some people. You want is you want to have an elevator pitch. And your elevator pitch is basically introducing you to somebody else, the other person that you've just come across. So there you are at your networking event. You've got your pineapple juice in your hand, and someone comes over to you and says, "Hi, I'm Sean. Who are you?" Now this is the point where you get to remember, for all the people with ADHD, you get to make your impression in 30 seconds or less. The idea is you want to tell them who you are, what it is that you do, and rather than try to do an info dump on them, I'll say maybe leave the door open for them to say, "Oh, that's interesting." Case in point, for me, I introduced myself as a brand architect. Option, I had the other option of saying, "I'm a branding consultant." But that's not nearly as sexy as I'm a brand architect. What is a brand architect? I build brands from the ground up. Dude, like, tell me about that. No, you're interesting. You're interested in what it is that I do, who I am, and why do I refer to myself in this way? Listen as well as talk. So yes, you're talking. Yes, you have your elevator pitch and it's all great. It's going well. But you want to listen to what the other person is saying. When people are allowed to talk, they're much more invested in the conversation. So listen as well as talk. And after the event, it was great. You met some good people, made some good contacts, maybe even exchanged business cards. Do people still have business cards? I don't know. So maybe you've exchanged business cards and off you go. Send them a follow-up email. "Hey, John, it was nice meeting you at the, say where it was that you met them." So that you don't get lost in all the people that they've met yesterday or over the last few days. "Hey, John, it was nice connecting with you at the such and such," and maybe even putting a little anecdote. "Oh, and that thing that we talked about was very interesting, very enlightening," or whatever, so that they can place a face to the name and they're like, "Okay, I remember you and I remember the conversation." Maybe even follow up something that you talked about with something else, some other information, some other insight. So you've built this amazing network. It's time to create some leverage. Like, how are you going to benefit from having a network? Understand that all the people, literally all the people in the world, are 6 or fewer social connections away from each other. So I say it's less than 6 people to introduce me to Idris Elba. So hey, and you want to let everyone in your network know what it is that you do and be able to recommend you. So again, this goes back to that one thing that it is that you do, that you're an expert at, that you're the best in your world at. You want that all the people that you know to know that you do this thing, to know that they can recommend you with confidence and that you're going to deliver the results to whomever they can possibly recommend you to. It needs to be, you need to use your network basically as a resource library. As in, you should be able to go to your network and say, "I need a whatever." And your network should also be able to come to you and say, "I need a whatever," right? So if you need a branding superstar, I'm gonna from today now, since we're all in the same network, when you need a branding superstar, I'm your guy, right? Same thing. When I need an HR superstar, Julie is the first person that pops up. So networking is a two-way street. So you're not just trying to harvest your network and try to get as much as you can out of it. The idea is sometimes people come to you and ask a question, and to you have to give back value into the network. Offer information, offer advice, do things for the network. Case in point, a contact of mine, she reached out to me. She says, "Hey, Corey, is there anyone in your network that can connect brands and people to markets within Europe?" Off the top of my head, I didn't have a name that I could just pull out of a hat for her. But I said, give me a few, let me put my ear to the ground and see if I can get back to you. Now, this is a person coming to me with an issue. She's come to the end of her rope, and she needs a little bit of help. I didn't have that that immediate resource, but I reached out to a few people who likely had within their network a person who could do this. So I sent a message to a buddy of mine and say, hey, wouldn't you happen to have such and such? He says, yeah, man, I met this person at Tech Beach 2 years ago and they would be able to do that no sweat. So now I got to go back to my contact and give them a resource that I did not personally have. But as far as they're now concerned, Corey came through in the last minutes of the game. You know, Corey is now that clutch player, right? Networking tactics. Be seen. No one can recommend you if they have no idea who you are or they haven't seen you in a hot minute. Interact with people. This is in real life. This is in online life. You want to go out and talk. If you go to a physical networking event, you don't want a situation where you're just standing there by the bar sipping on your pineapple juice. You want that you go and you meet people, you talk to people, you smile with people, and people get to know who you are. Participate in existing communities. Join Rotaract. Go to the coffee shop. Go to a networking event. Join Biba. Like, do these things, right? Go participate. And don't just join, like actually go to the events, talk to people. Now, when you're online, so going back to LinkedIn, and I say LinkedIn because, again, LinkedIn for professional purposes is the most powerful tool. Go beyond liking and actually leave a comment. So yes, it's all fine and good to like a post or an article that you see someone has posted, and yes, you know, it'll show that you liked it. But when you comment, something else happens. With LinkedIn specifically, your comment, there's a little piece about you that shows up alongside your comment. Now, this is the comment that I left on a post by my buddy Ron Johnson. And the thing about it was a good article. It was a great article. I read it and I came back and I gave him some feedback. I commented on what he wrote about, and every person that now looks at this post sees that Corey McLean, whoever that guy is, he left a comment. Maybe they go through and they read it and say, you know what, he sounds pretty smart. So a good comment is relevant. So if you're talking about, you know, the benefits of apples, a comment is not, yeah, but pineapple doesn't go on pizza. That's just wild talk, right? It's valuable. So you come and you add to it and you say, hey, that was great. Apples really are amazing. I like when you said such and such and such and such and such and such about apples. And you continue the conversation. And I also saw this other video one time about how they turned from apples into apple juice. So now what you have is a back and forth between you and the person that made the initial comment or wrote the initial article, or even to another person within the comment thread. And that's how I actually connected with one of my good buddies. We commented on the same post, and then we started commenting because I like how he thinks and he liked how I think. And that's how we became connected after that. And the thing about relationships, online, offline, wherever, is if you're out of sight, you're out of mind. I will forget about you. Not because, you know, I'm a bad person or because you're not memorable, but we only have so much space and so much time in our minds for other people and other things. Information, it gets lost. We get overwhelmed. So you want to be visible. You want to show up, be places, let people remember who you are and what you do. And as Warren Buffett said, it takes 20 years to build a reputation, 5 minutes to ruin it. So you want to be strategic about what you do. Think about what you're doing. Think about where you go. Think about what you do when you go there. Think about what you wear. Think about what you say. And even if you delete it, it's still there on the internet. Screenshots are a thing. Any questions? Well, questions come after in the thingy. So, say Fini, that's me.
Thank you so very much, Corey. That was very informative. I hope you guys do make your notes for your questions. Don't forget, you can post them in the chat, or when we get to Q&A segment, you can use the raise hand to let me know that you want to speak. In the meantime, though, I'm going to invite PM Juanita to introduce our next panelist, Miss Crystal Mars-Noel. Juanita?
Good morning, Tanya, and thank you. Crystal Mars-Noel creates relationships between clients and their customers, connecting brands to their target audiences. She holds a marketing degree from the University of the West Indies, Cape campus. Crystal has experience in marketing consulting, strategic implementation, and company collaboration. She manages projects at the Social Advertising Agency, where she specializes in digital marketing. She is also the host of Positivity Podcast, which serves as a platform to create business, entrepreneurship, personal development, and marketing advice. Crystal is a business owner of a handmade crochet brand made by Mars. She's passionate about the creative scene and is always ready to learn and share more in the process. Ladies and gentlemen, Crystal Mars-Noel.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for having me. I'm just here trying to share my screen. Okay. You guys hearing me?
Yeah, Crystal, we can hear you.
Okay. I was trying to start my video. Okay. Okay, so my video is not on at the moment. Okay. Hey guys. I am trying to share my screen at present. Not sure what is happening. Okay, so you don't see my screen?
No, it hasn't come up as yet. Want to try one more time? If not, you can present without it.
Okay. Apologies for this. Right. Not sure what that means. Okay, so you see my desktop as yet? Is it up? Is it up?
Yes, it's loading.
Okay, good. Apologies for the wait. Thank you so much for having me. I don't have much time, but let me just say today is World Development Information Day, so this is a great day to be doing this. Yes, I'm Crystal. I'm here to talk to you about digital marketing. So today we're looking at content creation, staying on trends, brands, and managing ad campaigns, digital networking, and of course the do's and don'ts. So I may overlap a bit with Corey, but I guess that's fine. Firstly, when it comes to content creation, you have to understand branding and what it means to be a brand. So I look at it as choosing 3 cornerstone words, right? When you think of yourself and your brand and what you have to offer the world, what 3 words comes to mind? So for me, that is passion, creativity, and honesty. So I use these words to base a personal mission statement, you know, just like a business, just like any other thing, like Corey said, you're the CEO of your personal brand. So I try to use the 3 words that comes to mind for me and base a mission statement. So for your personal mission statement, you have to know what you want to do and what you do not want to do. You know, your personal mission statement basically highlights the who, the what, and the why when it comes to you, right? And I also like to say when it comes to personal branding, it's not a fake thing that you do, you know, this is how I'm going to behave on social media and in real life. I'm not going to be truthful. You have to be really, really consistent with who you are and the image that you're putting out, right? So I will share my personal mission statement with you. I'm meant to be ambitious, self-confident, and a deliberate person. I wish to inspire others with my actions and never forget the power of my voice. I'm passionate about my work and personal development and helping others along the way, right? So in everything that I do, this is my mission statement. This is who I am, and I'm definitely consistent to my brand. Okay, so you define your mission statement, and you go forward from there. So then you establish yourself on social media platforms. Of course, the topic today is carving your digital footprint. And I like to say no more than 3 platforms because it is time consuming to have to manage so many pages. Take it from me, I'm a social media manager. I manage brands on a daily basis, and sometimes managing my own pages become a bit taxing. So for me, I would say ideally establish yourself on 2 social media accounts, 3 maximum. So then you definitely have to block out time in a week, say a few hours to sit down and think about the content that you would like to be posting, right? So this comes to the establishing yourself. You don't want to have like a stale feel. So what am I talking about? Just say you are at a networking event or you meet a person of importance. And as soon as you tell a person your name, I find personally the first thing that someone does is go to your social media account, right? People go look you up, see who you are, and let's say you haven't posted like since last year, like 2019. Like, you having still content, you don't seem engaged. You have to look engaged, kind of start that people take you seriously, right? And this goes back to what Julie said and what Corey said about, LinkedIn and staying current and having the right content out there. Also, like I said, you don't want to overburden yourself by feeding, too much time into too much platforms because it does become a bit taxing. You have to always, create content, and you really don't want to be posting like too often or too little. Start to kind of have to find a balance. So I would say posting twice a week is pretty fine. You don't necessarily have to create original content. You could basically create content, repost content, stuff that you like, stuff like that. The right content, like I said, establishing yourself on 3 social media platforms. Let's say that you have Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. The content you post across these platforms vary, right? So the same content you're going to post on Instagram isn't the same content you're going to post on Facebook or LinkedIn because the target is different across the platforms. Like Julie said, on LinkedIn, you don't necessarily post your graduation photos. It's more like a digital curriculum vitae. Like they're recruiters, they're people looking for jobs. So you have to be mindful of the platforms you're using when you're posting content. So you definitely have to do your research. So the right content across platforms. Investing in digital real estate. What am I talking about? If you're self-employed, if you own a business, if you have a business on the side, anything you do on the site, I believe that investing in a domain, having your own website is definitely essential. If you also want to be taken seriously, having your own paid domain is definitely something you should do when it comes to creating content. So whether you're a blogger, like I said, whether you have a startup business on the site, having your own domain is definitely a good investment. Also try to create a content scheduling. So create, like I said, when you block out time during the week to create this content, there are free platforms you could use. There's Facebook Creator Studio that you could use to, post content ahead of time so you don't have to be, checking back. Sometimes life happens and you don't necessarily have the time to be engaging on social platforms all the time. When it comes to posting content as well, there's the 80-20 rule where you post 80% of what the persons that follow you or the persons that you're trying to attract would like. So you have to post stuff that people would be genuinely interested in 80% of the time, and 20% of the time you could post some self-promotion. So like recently I've been indulging into personal branding like a bit more, and I thought personal branding was a self-promotion campaign, right? I thought it was all about looking the part, you know, being out there. And then I realized personal branding is really a leadership requirement, right? So when you're posting content, 80% of the time you have to be in the mind of the end user and, you know, post stuff that you think persons would be interested in. Sometimes people just want to get in your head, you know, when people follow you. So people just want to like, what are you interested in? Is he interested in something that I'm interested in as well? Just find ways to create value for persons on social media. That brings us to our next slide, staying on trends. So Corey talked about, you know, experts in the field, etc. But I personally like to believe that, you know, no one is ever truly an expert. There's always more information that you could gain. So to stay on new trends, you know, the digital landscape is ever changing. Persons should subscribe to social media blogs, you know, newsletters, find market giants in the areas that you would like to stay on top of, that so you continuously gain new insights and new information, right? Instead of, you know, sitting on Instagram, scrolling, watching parties that your friend went to, you know, take time to pay attention to what's happening in the external environment, you know, what's happening overseas, how the landscape is changing, because it is pretty dynamic. So that also goes to following the right profiles. If there's a person that you look up to, definitely follow, etc. There's definitely some insights in that. And lastly, participating in events. So just like this one, you know, go out there, network, engage, Zoom calls, conferences, wherever you could be amongst like-minded individuals that you could, you know, learn. Because I'm definitely learning. I learned a lot from Julie and Corey, and I would learn a lot from the next speaker. So definitely participating in events keeps you ahead. So definitely take some time to subscribe to social media blogs, follow the right profiles, and participate in events. When it comes to growth, there's always room for improvement. Brands and managing ad campaigns for business owners. So what is a marketing campaign? Organize, strategize efforts to promote a specific company goal, such as raising awareness of a new product or capturing customer feedback. So right now I'm currently working on like a few Christmas campaigns, and obviously the goal is to get, you know, attention. You know, maybe there's a new product, maybe there's a new store. We have specific targets when it comes to creating this marketing campaign. So Christmas is coming up, it's going to be a busy time, and we really need to get consumers' attention, you know, to take action. So whether it relates into sales or what's not, we have to create strategized efforts when it comes to, you know, targeting the audience and attaining our goals. So firstly, we have to plan our campaigns and target audience. You have to know who your target audience is, who you're looking to attract, and this goes the same way when it comes to your personal brand. You have to know who you are speaking to, and like Corey mentioned, in terms of attire, in terms of the way you carry yourself, you have to know who you are appealing to. So that goes the same way for an actual brand, right? So you create your plan your campaign, have your target audience in mind, and your entire campaign basically, you know, goes around who you're appealing to. The distribution process, how we're getting the message across, I guess that goes to the platforms that we're going to be using to get these individuals. So example, if my target audience, let's just say that the older generation is on Facebook. Let's just say that example. And we want to reach the older generation, then more of our marketing efforts would be on Facebook, more Facebook sponsored ads, you know, creating content that would reach that specific niche, right? So you have to be very, very efficient when it comes to getting your message across to the right audience. Converting customers to the campaign, we have to ensure that we create a very, very easy way for persons to call to action. So we want persons to, an easy process from just getting their attention to actually getting them to do action. So we don't want persons to have to sign up to this whole long thing that they have to fill out this whole application form for them to take action. Persons are discouraged, so we have to be very, very mindful when it comes to having an easy call to action, converting customers through campaigns. Also, assessing your campaign. So this is where you have to look at, was my campaign successful? Did I achieve my targets, right? Did I reach the right people? Was our message conveyed correctly? Was the message I put out received by my customer in the most efficient way, right? So this is where you compare your targets against what you actually achieved to your campaign. So whether this is you actually posting on LinkedIn, like you posted your profile, you posted everything, did the right recruiters get to you? Did you get the right calls, right? So you basically assess your goals against what actually happened, and the feedback process actually helps you the next time around. So maybe it worked, maybe it didn't work, but it's a process where you understand what's happening in the market. And, maybe, like I said, maybe it works, it didn't work. And Julie said that, sometimes we don't think that we're ready, but sometimes we have to make mistakes in the process to know, this is not working, we have to do this, we have to do that. So don't ever be afraid to make mistakes in the process. It happens. Digital networking and forming valuable connections despite COVID, right? So COVID happened, a lot of physical events are not happening right now, and we're all shifting to digital. So the statistics for Zoom calls, digital conferences went up drastically, right? We're currently here on a Zoom meeting that probably would have been in a physical place if COVID didn't happen, right? So we definitely have to use technology to our benefit. So like networking has mostly moved online, making it difficult to connect, but still we could use this to connect. So we could use social media platforms like LinkedIn to chat with colleagues. Again, quoting what Julie said, you could use it to, repost something, share something, and still create valuable relationships on social media. Share information that persons would find valuable, engage with persons in the comments. Like she said, the algorithm loves this. And with my experience being a social media manager, creating engagement for persons to actually comment on their posts actually gets the post more views in the future, because the algorithm understands this to be valuable information and will actually show more users. What am I saying? Reaching out to persons who have been at conferences. So let's just say I met somebody probably 6 months ago at a conference. You could definitely use social media to reconnect with that person, maybe it's short chit chat, reconnect with persons that you met before, all is not lost. Talking to people we already know. The biggest mistake that we make is thinking that networking is about meeting persons that we don't know. Sometimes we could harness and create deeper relationships with persons that we already know by, just connecting more. And maybe that person knows a person of significance that I could meet, or vice versa. So it's a two-way street. Build deeper connections with persons you already know, and you never know what may happen. Meet new people. Like I said, networking goes both ways. So always ask yourself, who do I know that this person could meet, right? So it's all about building connections, harnessing a deeper connection. Do's and don'ts of digital networking. So do adjust your communication style. Like I said, when you're talking on different platforms, the jargon started changing. So you have to definitely do your research and adjust your communication style on each platform. Social media isn't just like, me chit-chatting right now. There's definitely more when I see a person in person, the conversation is more. So the typing conversation might not necessarily be the same, there's a lot more words to type, but definitely adjust your communication style to get your message conveyed correctly. Do give as much as you get. Like I said, we're not just using social media to see what we can get, but also to create relationships where you can share stuff with persons that may be valuable to them. So it's all about creating value for others as well as ourselves. It's not a one-way street. And like I said, do your research. The internet is at your fingertips. There's so much we learn online, so much free information. This is one of the most important tips I will say, because it's at our fingertips. So definitely use it to our advantage. I mean, like we spend time to do a lot of things that, sometimes aren't the most productive. So definitely take your time to do your research if you're looking to create an impact on the digital forums. Do not be hasty. Like, people aren't always online all the time. I mean, sometimes you reach out to persons and they don't respond at the same time. And we would think, maybe this person isn't interested. Sometimes give persons time to respond. Everyone won't respond in the same time frame, as well as when you are doing your postings. So, don't rush to do your bio. Don't rush when you're posting. Always make sure to proofread what you're writing. Sometimes it leaves a bad taste in, let's say, a recruiter's mouth let's say you posted something on LinkedIn and it's full of grammatical errors. It leaves a bad taste. So definitely don't be hasty. Take your time and look over and proofread. Do not give up. So like I said, it's a process. We fail. Things don't always come out how we want it the first time, but it's definitely a process of trial and error. I could attest for that. Definitely a process of trial and error. And lastly, do not extend yourself. And this goes back to having to invest so much time into too much social media platforms. So, and even sometimes we even end up spending like too much time, because social media is designed to take our attention, right? So we have to be very, very mindful when it comes to how we use social media and other digital platforms. And I think this brings me to the end, short and sweet. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Crystal. I'd like to say that, as Crystal pointed out, training, development, and learning never stops. It's ongoing, and I've learned today. I hope that you guys have learned something as well. Remember, our Q&A segment is coming up, so jot down your questions. Get ready to post them in the chat or ask them via the raised hand button. And for right now, I'm going to introduce Rosrat to Zachary, who will then tell us a bit about our next panelist, Mr. Brian Pierre Donovan. Zachary?
Hi, morning everyone. Brian Pierre Donovan is a digital strategist with experience on the front lines of digital initiatives and campaigns in some of the local Barbadian markets, top brands in media, retail, food, and more. He's committed to the study of the direction of digital, focusing on the online space on a global level, as well as its impacts within the law. Brian continues to add to this list of qualifications and research in the area, keeping up with an ever-evolving global, regional, and local atmosphere, while offering his services as lead strategist at Premier Digital. Ladies and gentlemen, Brian.
Good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Oops. Give me 1 sec, guys.
Yes, Brian, we can hear you.
1 sec. Stop there. There we go. Good, perfect. Now, as Zachary would have said, my name is Brian Pereira Donovan, and I do a few things online. First of all, I'd like to thank all the presentations before me. Julie did an immaculate job in explaining LinkedIn. I've told her this before, and I'll tell her it tomorrow again. Corey excellently laid out exactly how we can go about branding ourselves online. And Crystal did a marvelous job in introducing us to the technicalities of doing so in the digital realm. Hold on, let me just make my video on. Here it is. Right, so now my role here is that I'm basically going to draft a larger picture as it relates to digital as a whole. And then I'm going to get down to a bit of a sort of a conceptual scale of where digital is in the planet right now, locally, regionally, and internationally. Then we're going to come right back into how you can make it work for you. All right. Now, first off, does anyone know the concept of a criticism sandwich? You can just turn on your mic and say yes or no. It doesn't matter to me. Anybody? No? Okay. Well, a criticism sandwich is a way of approaching a situation wherein, let's say you have a delicate subject to broach. First, you tell somebody, you give somebody a compliment. Okay, that's fine. And then you tell them what you have to broach with them. Say you have to chastise someone. You say, okay, well, good job on XYZ. You did absolute madness though. I can't tolerate that. Let's move on. And then you give them another compliment and let them ease out, you know, so that they feel good about it, so the criticism is constructive and what have you. So I'm going to steal from that concept a little bit. I'm going to do my presentation in 3 stages. The first stage is going to be broad, it's going to be conceptual, and it's going to be light. Second stage is going to go into a bit of a technicality realm. And then the last stage, we're going to go back to that broad spectrum. We're going to go, and then we're going to also tie in how you can use digital to your advantage, as well as summarizing everything we just went through, okay? Now, these are the stages of interest here again. So we have the light, simple, broad picture, deeper, that may get a bit technical, and stage 3 is going to basically sum everything up. Now, the broad picture. Why go online in 2020? You see that small little thing underneath there, that broad statement written extraordinarily tiny? The world is dead. Now, I'm going to explain why I say that, and my job is to allow at least 70% of you to grasp that and to agree with me by the end of this presentation. So what do I mean by the world is dead? The world has been changing for a very long time. We've been at the precipice of a new age. We've been at the precipice of all of these different types of innovation, a new revolution, the digital revolution. And the way in which we do things has changed completely and astronomically, right? So 2020 officially marked the death of the old world. 2020 officially marked the death of how we as human beings do things all the time, and it will never go back. And I'm going to explain why more. It will never go back to the time where networking was something that you can just do in person. It will never go back to the time where you can simply say, oh, well, I know this person because I met them and I have them in my cute little black book. That time is gone. That world is dead. So now in the tech world, there's always been discussion of things called the Internet of Things. Now we are going to quite quickly reach the stage, and this has been propelled by COVID-19, the pandemic. We're going to quite quickly reach the stage where we don't mention the term internet anymore because it will be understood. We're going to quite quickly reach the stage where we no longer affiliate the internet with being this thing that we go into, and it will become an augmentation of our very lives. And that goes right down to everyday items in our home. That's already begun, but it's going to catapult on an astronomical level. Now, that was the broader picture. Getting into more technical again. We are now in the age of surveillance capitalism. This was a term coined by Shoshana Zuboff. This is her photo here. She wrote a book called The Age of Surveillance Capitalism. Online, our digital experiences, what we do, how we operate, how we maneuver, that is now the most valuable commodity in the planet. And that's proven by the fact that everything we do online creates the largest companies in the planet. Facebook is the largest company one of the largest companies in the planet. So is Amazon. And all of these people, their product is human experience. So human experience is the new oil. Human experience is the new oil, so much so to the point that Mark Zuckerberg, who owns Facebook, is quite easily the new Rockefeller. So is Jeff Bezos. Human experience is our new major product as human beings. And that's another thing that has entered us into this new world, because we're no longer worried so much about trading in oil. We're worried about trading in data, in personal information, in experiences. And this can be used to your benefit as well, because the same way these companies are using human experience and trading in it and tossing it around, you too should be also using that to your advantage in pushing yourself forward in a digital landscape. So Washington Post, this is actually very important for today. Washington Post did a study wherein they found that we had a 33% internet usage on smart devices since the beginning of the pandemic lockdowns. That's globally. So we have 33% more people who have never used these devices religiously, using them every single day. So that means 33% more opportunities for every single person in this room to make something of themselves through networking online. This is pure data. I like data because it tells us the truth. Yeah. And that number is even larger regionally. So some of my colleagues throughout the region have been reporting things all up into the realm of 50% usage increase. Right here in Barbados, throughout my clients, I can easily see a line that's trending around 40, 42%. So those are all of the people who were once shy from digital who are now involved in it. Those are all the people who were once figuring themselves too old to be involved, who now have no choice but to be involved in this digital landscape. And that's not going to change. It's not going to go back, because most people who pick up a phone, most people who start to use their smart devices, they don't stop using them. It's convenient. They don't stop networking with them. That's the way that the world has turned. So that 33% and larger within the region, that's never going to change, ever. So the Digital Marketing Institute, which is a global institute and one of the leaders in terms of digital marketing in the planet, they recently released a study that showed 78% of companies across the globe now have dedicated social media teams. So if a company whose objective is to make money, if they have dedicated teams, and these are separate and apart from their traditional marketing teams, if they have teams for this thing, then it's a no-brainer that whether you, in Julie's field, whether you are trying to appeal to recruiters, whether you're trying to recruit persons, or whether you're trying to establish yourself as a brand, it's a no-brainer that you have now to be there. Even if you don't implement all of the skills on the planet, you need to be there. And the more you leverage it, the farther apart you will set yourself from everyone else, right? So then, how do you do this? The reality is digital is not different from what you do every day. One of the first things I said in the beginning of this presentation was that the old world is dead, and the new world will enter a stage where the internet word isn't even used, it's understood. So each and every person in this room should not be thinking about how they're going to use digital, and when I get home from work, I ain't got the time, I just stressed up. No, that time is gone. What we should need to be looking at is a reality where digital is not separate and apart from our lives. It's a part of it. It's a significant part as well. So if it is that you are an insurance broker, if you are an insurance agent, you're selling insurance, you should not be thinking from day one, oh, okay, I just finished all my my deals for the day. I just penned in everything else. I can't have time for online now. Actually, there's a perfect example. I'm not sure if he's still here. Jamar, are you still in the room? If Jamar is still in the room, Jamar is a client of mine. Jamar actually recently this year launched his entire business online. Shut down his office, shut down everything, went strictly online, and it has done extremely well for him, right? It has done, yes, Jamar is still here. It's done very well for him. And if he's still here doing question and answer, you can ask him. So it's an augmentation of what we're currently doing, not a separation. And that's very important in relation to making a personal brand for yourself, because if you see it as a separation, not only is it going to be stressful, but it's also going to be a disconnect from your goals at the end of the day. So speak to your audience online as you would speak to someone you're catching up with a conversation with. Now, we're on to stage 3 of the presentation, the nitty-gritty and the part people might just be actually interested in. The 3 main aspects of personal branding. Now, I've borrowed these concepts from the first book I actually read on digital marketing for the year. I released late last year, I believe, Social Media Marketing for Business by Chandler Miller and Donald Priest. If you're interested in reading it, it's available on Audible, so you can just listen to it at your own leisure. It's actually a very decent book. And they laid out 3 aspects of personal branding. One is your image. So in terms of your image, you want to focus on your page, around what you do, what you love, what you have interest in. It makes it far easier, and it also allows you to connect far better with the people around you. Part 2 would be take part. Julie would have mentioned this, and Corey would have mentioned it as well. Engage on other people's posts. Have conversations. Number 3 is be an authority. Corey would have mentioned this again. Learn everything you can about your space and establish yourself within that niche from a digital perspective. It's no different from when we were all in person. You're just transferring it online, or rather, you're augmenting what you already have in your life on these platforms. So, drilling in a bit more, focus on your page. Focus on what you do, what you love, make it authentic. Don't separate it from what you do in person. And even in relation to my business clients, the reality is never, ever, ever separate who you are in person from who you are online. And from a business example, if you are a pristine store, you're not going to appear online as though you are a corner shop. Conversely, if you are a corner shop, you cannot appear online as a pristine shop. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. You need to be authentic into who you are at all times. Yeah, do not separate either of them. And share WhatsApp. Share what you're doing. Use the opportunity to update people on what you've done today. Have you accomplished something severe? Share that. Have you made a landmark breakthrough in something astronomical? Share that as well. Don't think of it as a disconnect, but do not share, and this is very important, do not share classified or confidential information online. Begging. Don't do that. Take time to engage with your audience. We live in a society, and that doesn't change if you appreciate, yet again, the concept of augmenting your life with these digital platforms, as opposed to just mixing them up together, right? You don't mix them, sorry, as opposed to separating them. You don't separate them. You don't, you engage in a society. If you go to a networking event, you're going to stand up and you're going to meet people, you're going to talk to them. Even shy people in networking events end up talking to people for a few seconds, because that's what people do. Humans are social creatures, and the name of social media further proves that humans actually, that's what we are. Social media is actually not the term that the people who invented it gave it, by the way. Social media is a term that the traditional media would have given to it to separate it from them, right? So if you were to ask Mark Zuckerberg, if you were to ask Jack Dorsey from Twitter what platforms they run, they'd say they run digital networking platforms, not social media. Social media is it's almost a fallacy, because it's just a definition between the two that the traditional media made up. But there's no such thing as social media. This is simply networking within a digital space, an augmentation, if you will. Be an authority. You cannot separate your digital from your reality. If it is that you are, for example, an intellectual property lawyer, I don't know if we have any in here, cough, cough, hi Fiona. If that is what you do, and you are recognized as an authority before this entire concept of digital swept the world, the route that you take to make yourself an authority online is no different. You do good work, you show people the good work, people see the good work, and they follow you as an authority. There is no need to really, quote unquote, fake it as you make it. Be authentic, be an authority, keep learning, keep researching. As you research, share what you've researched. Did you recently find a white paper by, I don't know, Deloitte on how to do better financial business in the new global emerging markets? If you work in finance and you have read that, share it with people. Hey, I just saw this amazing read. It's about never separating what you do. That is the same thing right throughout, always. It will never change. So, in summary, guys, I hate to say it, the old world is dead. It's gone. It's not coming back. What we need to do now, we need to look towards moving into a new generation and what that means. The digital revolution has finally, or it's about to reach its climax. We need to understand it as an augmentation of the reality that we currently live in. We need to understand it as, and Facebook may not be forever. It will not be forever. Google just might be. I mean, Twitter will not be forever. LinkedIn will not be forever. But the concept of how we augment our digital reality and attach it onto the real world, that will never stop. That is here to stay. So my lasting impression to leave with you is, don't try to put yourself on social media. Augment your life with social media. That's all for now, folks.
All right, thank you so much, Brian. I hope you guys learned something from all four of our panelists. Now we get to move straight into our question and answer segment. So I'm gonna be checking our chat and seeing those of you who raise your hand and who want to ask questions. So just give me one moment. All right. Okay, so let's start with a question for, let's randomize it. Sorry, one moment. Having a bit of technical difficulties, hang on. Right, thanks. All right, so let's start with Crystal. So how can I use, this is the question, how can I use the target audience feedback to improve my brand? Once again, how can I use the target audience feedback to improve my brand?
Okay, so this is a really easy one. It's basically just, filling in the gap. So let's just say my target audience, let's just say, trying to find a good example, but I don't know. Let's just say that people weren't responding to my brand. So let me just look at me posting something and not getting insights, right? So let's just say I posted an engagement post and nobody engaged with my engagement post. Then I know that my content was boring. Maybe what I'm trying to push is not what my audience wants. Because I find the mistake that we make sometimes is we post content that we want, that we like, and we think about ourselves. It's not about us. It's about creating value for the target audience. So if this doesn't work, then we try something else.
Okay, thank you so much, Crystal. On to Corey. So just for clarity, how soon after should we follow up with persons after we connect with them, especially digitally?
I say do it the next day, during respectable or working hours. If you met someone yesterday or at an event last night, you send them an email, probably 8 a.m., 7 a.m., around those times where a person would be willing to engage with it, so that they've already started their day and they can now, they have enough time that they can reflect on the meeting and the session, and they can actually make a note of it somewhere, rather than say they got the email at, I don't know, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and they're asleep. Or even if they did see it, maybe they don't remember. Right? So that's my thing. I say right after or the very next morning.
Okay, thanks so much, Corey. All right, so Julie, we would have noticed that you would have said, we need to be able to be posting and being active on LinkedIn, but where or how do we find or make time for so much content? How do we navigate that?
I think that Crystal said it best, that you have to make a schedule. So I personally prepare all of my content on Sundays, and then I put it in a scheduler, and my content goes away. I have to think about it again. So I would recommend that you take some time, at least try to put some content together, put it in a scheduler, and then go ahead and let that content do its thing without you having to think about it again. So yes, it can have its challenges, but if you're planning and you schedule it well, you'll be fine.
Okay, thanks, Julie. So this leaves Brian. So how do I know, this is your question, how do I know if my brand isn't relevant to where I want to go in life? How do I know that?
If your brand is not relevant to where you want to go in life, could you elaborate a little bit more? Because there's two directions I can take that question. I can either take that question to mean, how do I know if I am resonating with people? Or I can take that question to mean, how do I know if my brand is becoming as lucrative as I would want it to be. Because ironically, they're two different things.
Okay, well, let's look at the former.
Okay, the former. Right. So that speaks for itself. I love data. Data is not lie. So if your aim online, for example, is to generate revenue, then your brand, you will know if your brand is not resonating with people right off of the top. Because like I said, you never separate your offline from your online. If it is that you are not making any money, then chances are you may need to shift your stratagem a little bit. However, in terms of whether or not your brand is resonating with people, which is the prior question, you can see that easily by your engagements. Also, it's important to take note of your demographic. So let's say we're speaking about the Barbadian market. We can know from, and I'm sure that Crystal can attest to this, if you are running ad campaigns throughout Barbados on different platforms, it's easy, to pinpoint how many people are using smart devices and social media in Barbados. The ballpark is actually around 110,000, right? So then you disseminate from there, going back to your traditional marketing tactics, you disseminate from there what percentage of that or what number of that is my market. And then you go from there and say, okay, do my engagements reflect that? If not, you may have to reorganize your strategy.
Okay, thanks, Brian. So guys, if you have any further questions like that, you know who to find. Connect with Brian on LinkedIn and shoot lots of questions into his inbox. All right, so now we move on to more general questions that I think all of you can answer. Anybody can jump in. Could any of you offer an example of a universal lesson that anyone can apply when creating their brand? So again, what would be a good universal lesson, right, that anyone can apply when they're creating their own brand? Feel free, don't all jump at once. This is directed to all four of you.
Okay, I guess I can chime in quickly here. Okay, so universal advice towards building your brand. And I know this sounds like a stuck record, but you're going to have to add a layer of authenticity to it. Because if you do not, there are two outcomes. One, there's the more likely outcome where you do not become successful. If you are using an example of a cafe, and your cafe style is very American, and you try to brand yourself in a more European type style online, it's not going to translate well, because John Brown, who's interested in a European cafe, is going to walk into your cafe and feel like, no, this is not what I want. And then Jane Doe is never going to walk in because she was looking for an American style, and that's not what you're branding yourself as. So the more likely outcome is that you're going to fail. The less likely outcome, which is equally as detrimental, is that it's going to become extraordinarily stressful to yourself. So you may not be being inauthentic in the way you portray yourself online you may be being inauthentic right throughout. So you may be being inauthentic online and offline. And if you do that and you're successful, it's going to eventually become very stressful to you, because every day is going to become stressful, because you're now going to have to go into your closet, and on top of picking out a uniform, you're going to be picking out a mask as well.
Thanks. I want to point out the irony there, because, you know, guys, we are in a COVID situation. So when you do go out, try to color code your mask and stuff. But thank you so much, Corey. That was helpful. Does anyone else want to jump in on that particular question?
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
Sorry, Corey, you want to go ahead?
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, just start. I think a lot of times we stay in our head about content, and we feel that people are going to judge us for whatever we put out there. But I think that if you're trying to establish yourself as a professional and as a thought leader in your profession, you have to start somewhere. Everyone may not agree with whatever you say. People disagree with me all the time when I talk about, and I talk about human resources. But I think all of the other panelists mentioned about knowing what you know. And anyone who knows me knows that I am big on creating people first cultures. I don't focus on industrial relations. I feel like that side of it dehumanizes people. We're creating policies and processes that sometimes are unnecessary. If we just let people be people, they will do the jobs we hired them to do. And that is what I teach. And a lot of people, especially in the HR field, disagree with me, and that's okay. That's okay. But there are a lot of people who also agree with me. And if I had stayed in my head about how I was going to put that content out there, because of all the people, and the majority of HR professionals in Barbados are industrial relations driven. I am not. I'm a unicorn, and I'm okay with that. And when I put my content out there, it speaks to that I focus on people, and I'm concerned about the human experience in any organization that you go through. If you stay in your head about your content, you'll never know how people feel about it. And I always thought that people were going to be upset or frustrated at my content. Most people love my content. If I'd stayed in my head about it, I would have never figured that out. So start somewhere, anywhere, and then watch the evolution of your content. Whatever you put out here today is not going to be the same as what you're going to put out 5 months from now. Trust, if you're being consistent, which I think Corey mentioned about being consistent in your content. If you do that, just start, watch your journey, and you're going to see how your content is going to grow and how your audience will grow with you. So just start.
That is some solid advice there. And I have another question here. This is from one of our persons here in the chat. So if you're an expert in one thing and then you want to go into a completely different area, how do you branch out to have people see you in that new profession or that new professional light? So once again, if you're an expert in one area, one particular career, and you want to jump into a completely different one, how do you branch out and have people look at you not as your old career, or but as your new one? Anyone can jump in.
Yes, I'll take that one. I'll say you got two choices. One is to add it on. So yes, you do A and you're known for A. You've been doing A for 5 years, but you just started dabbling in something else. Maybe what you could do is start talking about it, start posting about it, start going to conferences about it, start telling people, hey, you know what, I've been doing this other thing. And it could, in one sense, may even tack on to what you currently do. And I have an example, like if you look at Matthew Ashby, Future, he's been in artist management and the entertainment scene for a very long time. And one day Matthew started talking about videography and posting videos and showing behind the scenes of him recording videos. And now he's actually becoming really good. So now he's also becoming known, yes, as an entertainment type person, yes, as an artist manager, but also as a videographer. And he's getting work as a videographer as well. So you can take that approach. Or if it's a situation where you're no longer doing that, doing A, and now you're switching cold turkey to B, then, well, just stop. And you just start talking about your new thing. What will happen is for the first week, month, year, you may still be known for the other thing. But again, consistency, you have to keep doing it, keep talking about it, be visible about it, tell people that you're doing it. And you know what? Tell people you're no longer doing the other thing. And what happens is over time, eventually you will then become known for that.
Okay, thank you so much, Corey, for that. I am going to, in the just looking at the time, I'm gonna have to pause us asking any more questions at this moment in time. However, if you would like to, you can stay on at the end and pose your questions to our panelists, or you may connect with them on their varying social media, reach out to them even in the chat, and ask them any other questions you may have. Thank you so much, guys, for being so helpful in terms of answering all our many questions so tactfully. And for now, I'm gonna hand over to AD Siobhan, who will give our tokens to our panelists. So Siobhan.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you enjoyed our session. Our token guest, which will be delivered by Director Jamar, not myself, was brought to you today by Naturally Me Skin and Body. Naturally Me Skin and Body is a vegan luxury skincare brand which aims to beautify the skin through the use of natural ingredients such as natural butters, natural oils, clays, seed, and botanicals. They offer a wide range of skin and body care products such as soaps, face cleansers, hair oils, beard care, and lots more. Remember, and their slogan is, remember that you put on your what you put on your skin goes into your body. If you want to, you can hit her up on Instagram at Naturally Me Skin and Body, and she's here for all your skincare needs. Her name is Keisha, by the way. She might be on. If you're on, Keisha, just drop all your links in the chat for how persons can contact you, and Jamar will deliver your gifts as soon as possible. He will also be giving out a gift towards, what is it, Jamar? The door prize? A door prize gift as well.
Yes.
And that's these gifts that we have for our panelists. So thank you, Naturally Me Skin and Body.
All right, thank you so much, AD Siobhan. I'm going to hand over to Director Jamar now for some fun stuff. We now have the announcement of our draw winner. So Director Jamar.
Hi, everyone. First, I want to say great session. I really enjoyed it and learned a lot from all of the presenters here. Now for an exciting part. From our last passing mic, we had a draw winner for one lucky person in the attendees. This time around, persons were asked to share their content and stuff on social media by taking a picture and showing us essentially what your brand is and what it represents. All right. So from that draw prize, we have our very own Miss Maya Kalman, right? Maya's picture brand was of that of a lawyer, right? And she is a lawyer, in fact, in real life. That's her profession, and that was actually true to her brand. So this was displayed on social media and LinkedIn and her other platforms. So congrats, Maya. I'll be keeping your prize. I'll think about giving it to you. So now let's move swiftly along. So our brief thank you from Maya as well. Give it 1 minute. Share.
Distinguished speakers, members of the Rotary Club of Barbados, members of all Interact and Rotaract clubs, our most valuable invited virtual audience, ladies and gentlemen, bon après-midi, good afternoon. I am Committee Secretary Maya, and it is my distinct pleasure and honor to deliver the vote of thanks on this occasion. Jacques Maritain once said, "Gratitude is the most exquisite form of courtesy." Today I take the opportunity to put all my gratitude in words. On the behalf of the entire Rotaract Club of Barbados, We extend our sincere thanks to all our distinguished speakers for providing us with their valuable insights, knowledge, and lessons on personal branding, specifically through the lens of digital marketing and digital networking. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation for having Miss Crystal Mars Newell, who has provided us with an extensive overview on social media marketing, branding, and strategy implementation. Further, we are grateful to Mr. Corey McLean, or as we UWI graduates know him as, the man who owns Sips Smoothie Bar, for demonstrating his knowledge on being a brand architect, brand promotion, and brand reputation management. Jeff Bezos has this quote, "Your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room." And I know that we can all certainly agree that this was a theme running through Brian's presentation. Brian, thank you for gracing us with your presence, your energy, and passion for digital networking and digital branding. Last but not least, Miss Julie Turney, we would also like to acknowledge our gratitude for your excellent and comprehensive coverage of digital networking, particularly your focus on optimizing social media platforms to build your professional brand. Finally, I want to place on record a hearty thanks to the entire Pass the Mic committee and sponsors who worked assiduously hard to ensure this event is memorable. Once again, thank you to all distinguished speakers on this virtual.
Okay, thank you very much, Maya, for that awesome vote of thanks. Okay, that brings us to the end of the proceedings this evening. I just want all the persons to stay tuned to our social media pages for all of our upcoming projects this year. And let's all celebrate World Polio Day. We're this close. All right, thank you. Oh, my bad. The fun part, good photo. So now everyone please turn on your cameras, get out of bed, unwrap the sheet, all right, sit up, put on your smiley faces. Let's have a group photo. I see Stephen like had on a mask. Stephen, you're out in COVID. Good thing we're over Zoom. I just give it a minute. Sorry, you're on the road. I see we have President Rashida. Hi, Rotarian Carlos. Hi. Everybody's traveling today. Look at Sharida. Kareem, now wake up. No, wake up. Okay. Thanks everyone is here. Smiley faces. We're gonna take 2 takes and hope this works out. At the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's 1. Let me save that before I lose it.
You have to wait for the perfect moment so the people can get time to be in traffic so they can pause.
Oh, you want to start by a spotlight? Let's. Okay, a few more persons joined, so let's go again. Smiley faces, everyone. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Maya not looking at camera. We gotta start over. Maya not looking. Good. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I hope that's my good side. All right, great. So thank you again, everyone, for attendance, and feel free to stay for our mingle and after talks, especially connecting with the panelists that are here. All right. How do we unmute everyone? Feel free to unmute your mics. I will end the recording now.